Hey guys, Furum here, and today I'm going to be testing the Lamborghini Asterion in multiplayer in Asphalt 9. I have gotten many requests for this car, and I have 4-starred it now, so I figured it would be a good time to review it. And Merry Christmas everyone! So we are at a rank of 2879, with all upgrades and import parts applied except for the epic import parts, which I really don't think anybody has, unless you can get them for trade coins. I'm not sure, I haven't seen any yet. Right off the bat, I want to say I really like driving this car. It is a mid B-class car, and all its stats are quite good. It goes 217 miles per hour at max, at least with my tune. Its handling, acceleration, and nitro efficiency are all pretty good. Some might say it is like a W70 on steroids. If you have not gotten this car yet, here is a little trick so that you can 4-star it up a lot quicker than you might otherwise be able to. When you don't have this car, you can get 5 blueprints daily for it in the daily tasks, or whatever they're called. Daily goals, I think, in Asphalt 9. Now, if you unlock the car, that goes down to 1. So what you can do is not unlock the car when you get enough blueprints for it, but rather save up till you get 120 blueprints, and then unlock it and 4-star it all at the exact same time. You'll have to wait a bit to get the car, so if you don't need it right away, this would be a great way to do it, because you will 4-star it up a lot quicker than you might otherwise. So we came in first in this race, beating 5 other Asterions, a Ferrari J50, and an Exotic Rides W70. These races were recorded a little while back in the J50 season. And unfortunately, you need the J50 for some of the Sheeran blueprints, and therefore I'm not going to be able to get all the Sheeran blueprints in the event because, well, I do not have the J50. However, I would technically have needed to spend about as many tokens on the J50 as I will need to spend to get as many blueprints for the Sheeran that I don't get because I don't have the J50, so it's not exactly that big of a deal for me, because I only need 11 more blueprints to unlock the car. Maybe it will come back at some point, but right now, I really just want to get as many Sheeran blueprints as I can, and I don't think it's worth risking a bunch of tokens to try to get the J50 through, say, the holiday packs, which have a chance of giving it, but there's a very good chance that you don't get it, because they guarantee one of, 4 cars, I think it is: Egoista, Acura, J50, and Corvette Grand Sport. I do have the Grand Sport, thankfully. But in the Sheeran event, we also will need to use the Alfieri and 570S, which have not been released yet, and you can get 35 Sheeran blueprints by using the 570S. We know all this info because somebody leaked the days. I don't know exactly how, but they did it, and it's kind of nice to know what's coming up. So hopefully we'll be able to get that somehow, either through packs, or maybe it will be free try. I don't know. So we've come in first again, beating another Legions United member, and 3 4-star Asterions. There were a bunch of 4-star Asterions running around because a lot of people took advantage of that daily goals trick. I unfortunately didn't. I was able to get only 1 blueprint per day since I unlocked it right away. I unlocked this car before the daily goals even came out, so that would explain that. So while the Asterion is very easy and fun to drive, it does have a small problem. It seems to be glitchy in some cases, like on some jumps or landing on the ground. Sometimes it just jumps into the air, does some wonky stuff. It doesn't happen all the time, but it has happened enough to be a bit annoying. Here we passed that guy. I found that going over that little place on the grass over to the left there, or to the right if you're coming from the other direction, definitely saves some time. A lot of people go out wide for the nitro bottle. I have found that to be not as fast, and I have passed plenty of people by just going through the grass with perfect nitro. Scotland is probably still my least favorite track in the game, followed up by some Rome tracks, but I think I'm getting a bit better at them. In RPM, we do weekly casual challenges to help us improve our skills, and I think it really does help. Because when you play the same track over and over again, you really get to know exactly the fastest routes. So we've come in first here again, ahead of, well, 4 other Lamborghini Asterions, all 4-star. And somebody has an import part. I wonder where they got that from. Here we have a full 8-player race against 5 other Asterions, as well as an Exotic Rides W70 and a Dodge Viper ACR. I really did not see too many J50s this season. I think the reason was it was just not a very good car. It was like the 3rd worst car in Class A, and at the time people thought, well, we'd just use this for a season and then put it up and waste thousands of tokens to get it. And the thing is, the Asterion is nearly as good as it, not quite as good, but the Ferrari 488 GTB was probably just as good, and a lot of people have that 3 and 4 starred. So it was pointless, at least so it seemed, for most people to get the J50. However, now that it's used in the Sheeran event, some people like myself are thinking it may have been a little bit more worth it. I probably still would not have gone for it, but yeah. It makes it a little more likely that we'll try to go for as many Unleashed cars as possible from now on, because they have a chance to be used later, even if not for multiplayer, but possibly to get a better car, because the Sheeran isn't going to be king forever. Apparently, it's going to be king for quite a while, which I certainly think is a good thing, but it's just not going to stay that way forever. So we come in first in this race, but in the next race, something even better happens. And wow, there sure are a lot of other 2879 Lamborghini Asterions. It's not quite 1679, but at least it's got that 79 there in the end. Okay guys, so since it is Christmas time, I was thinking that it would be an interesting thing to do to put your favorite Christmas tradition in the comments if you celebrate the holiday. Because I'm sure everyone has little fun things that they do, and it would be quite interesting to see what all of us do. Although I'm sure there's one thing we can probably all agree on. The food is really good. So through taking some turns well, we've managed to get into first position in this race. So those 2 curves right there, I sometimes struggle getting around. Sometimes I use perfect nitro around them like I did there. Sometimes I drift a bit and then shockwave. It all depends on the car and just what the situation is. I don't always drive exactly the same way on all the tracks. Certainly for the most part I do, but there's some places that you really gotta change your playstyle for the occasion, whether there be a bunch of people around or whether or not you have as much nitro from previous doing different things. In Asphalt 9, you've really got to keep an eye on where your nitro is at any given point than you would in any previous Asphalt game. So we're coming up near the end of the race. I usually shockwave up this ramp if it's just 1 lap. If there's 2 laps, I usually flat spin up, so I have enough nitro to make it around these turns. That's just another instance of when I might do things slightly differently. So here we've come in first and reached Legend League. Now we're facing some big boys, 2 Ferrari 488 GTBs, as well as a few other Asterions and a W70. And yes, I did manage to 3-star the W70 finally. That 70 blueprints for the 3rd star just are not that easy to come by. Here I go a bit higher on this ramp than I would have liked to because I got pushed. However, we do land without having any problems. One person nearly knocks us down. Thankfully, he doesn't though. On this specific Scotland variant, I always go up those ramps at the beginning there, mainly because if you don't, and everybody else does, you have a very large chance of getting landed on when you get onto the other side, because everybody else is going to be falling from the sky and you're just sitting there like a sitting duck on the ground. So on the first lap there, pretty much always try to go up that ramp. Now, if you're on the second lap, if it's a 2-lap one, there's not people around, I would honestly recommend just kind of flat spinning because going up that ramp has occasionally put me on my top. However, it hasn't happened often enough to completely avoid that barrel roll. So we are currently in second position behind a Ferrari 488 GTB, driven by one of the most skilled members of Legions United, Unkindly Track 31. He gets really good time in events, and he does very well in multiplayer also. As you can see, he had quite a high rating. Somehow that other 488 came in last, behind the W70 even. Not exactly sure what happened to him. He probably had a bad time with some physics or getting knocked down or something. That has happened to me plenty of times, being in a good car and just a bunch of horrible stuff happens and I come in last or just very far back positions because of it. But I will say the unlimited fuel season was definitely a breath of fresh air because I could just keep playing and not worry about using up my 3 Egoista fuel or whatever, and then not being able to play again for 6 hours after maybe going down a bunch because of some bad races. No, if I go down that season, well, I can just keep playing until I'm back up to where I was before. If hopefully a lot of more bad stuff doesn't happen. Usually what happens, I get some good races, then some bad races. It's a roller coaster, but I usually try to stop when I hit the top of the roller coaster. Sometimes I haven't exactly gauged that properly, and I'm sure a lot of people have felt the same way. You know what time it is, guys. I don't even have to say it. This car is a quite good car, as I said, a mid-range B-class car, quite good in all aspects except being a little bit glitchy, but overall it is a great car to drive and usually quite good in whatever season it is in. If it is in a lower league, it should get you to a higher league fairly easily. And it is a really nice looking car if you make it purple and put those carbon fiber hood and trunk on it. And after a close race, we take the victory. Thank you all so much for watching. Please like the video if you've enjoyed and consider subscribing for more Asphalt 8 and 9 content. And I will see you in my next video. Goodbye!